While many businesses across the globe, the U.S. and here in the coastal bend suffer, nonprofits are left wondering how to make up their losses. Our John Thomas Cobos shows us how many of your favorite charitable groups are getting by.
When tragedy strikes, the Coastal Bend Food Bank is one of the first to step up always, no matter what. That was the case when many families realized they were being laid off or furloughed during this pandemic.
Thank everyone for coming.
Love Chrysler Dodge Jeep donated a $5,000 check to help the food bank carefully craft emergency food boxes. Volunteers stepped up, too, to help sort those goods. Frost Bank pulled $50,000 to pass out to various nonprofits specializing in human and health services. At the beginning of this month, the United Way of the Coastal Bend raised $264,000 for COVID-19 response and recovery. The food bank, along with Catholic Charities and various homeless organizations, benefited directly from the generosity. Valero and their Energy Foundation donated $225,000 to various nonprofits as well. One of those groups to benefit was the Coastal Bend Blood Center. That group stepped up in the name of research looking for a COVID-19 cure. Early April, the blood bank received its first plasma donation from a recovered coronavirus patient. Goodwill Industries experienced a different issue as too many donations were pouring in around town. Clutter began to pile up and out of drop-off boxes. There were so many clothes and other items being dropped off, they simply could not handle the overflow. The end result was asking donors to hold on to their goods until later. The Salvation Army has been in the mix too, helping and hurting. Many employees have been shifted from their thrift store to help in other services, while some have been furloughed. Despite the pain, the group doing the most good has been there to help area homeless with food, provide veterans with housing, and help families with rent, utility bills, and food costs. Reporting, John Thomas Cobos, 3 News.